Hey everyone, Fletcher Ellingson here. Welcome back to Your Life Is Now, the show designed to reveal and discuss the hidden forces that influence your every thought, decision, and action. This is where we discuss and learn how to give up wishing and start actively creating the life of your dreams. It's where you and I get to be real, where we develop courage and compassion, where we become a source of contribution and take 100% control and responsibility for our life and have a ton of fun in the process. I want you to experience your own power and greatness. And together, you and I, we get to make this world a better place. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that we're in this conversation together. I'm going to tell you right up front, right now, that today's topic is so mighty that when you get the full impact of it, your jaw may drop. Some of you may disagree or experience denial. You may get angry at my insistence, but hopefully you'll come out on the other side and embrace this concept and get inspired so you can get motivated and step into action. You see, today's topic is another one of those hidden forces. It's all over our lives, and yet we usually have no idea it's there. It influences everything, to the friends we have, the job we have, how much money we make, how much money we spend, how much money we save, what kind of car we drive, the kind of food we buy, eat, if we stay fit, if we're always trying to lose weight, if we smoke, don't smoke, or if we're always trying to quit smoking. I'm telling you, this hidden force is one of the influences that directly creates the quality of our lives. And like I said, you can't see it. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about your standards. Your standards are largely responsible for the quality of your life. Let's define what a standard is before we go any further. Quite simply, it is what you're willing to settle for. Not what you want, but what you're willing to settle for. And it's not good or bad, it just is. Some of these standards you chose, but many of them were simply modeled to you and you took them on as your own. For instance, think about your childhood home and the standard of order or cleanliness that your parents had for it. The state in which you keep your room or office or house in general may reflect how your parents kept their home when you grew up there. If the house was tidy, then chances are you keep a tidy home as well. If you continue to keep a tidy house, it was likely because this standard was modeled for you and you simply adopted it without much or any thought at all. Or perhaps you grew up in a messy or disorganized home, and you may have a messy or disorganized home. Or you may have grown up in a home where money was always tight or felt scarce. If this was the standard in your home, you likely took that on as well and experienced a scarcity mindset around money today. Again, let's define what a standard is. A standard is what you're willing to settle for in an area of your life. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just what you're willing to settle for, and it's not necessarily what you want. Now, you may want it, but it doesn't have to mean that you want it. Some standards serve your life, and some don't. Let me give you an example. For many years, I had a car payment. I thought everybody did. I thought everybody had a car payment. I saw the commercials, and they all suggested that the way you own a car is by making payments. So we got a car, and we actually paid it off through payments, but then we traded it in and got a different one and had another higher monthly payment. And then we did the same thing and we were paying even more. We did this a number of times and it was my standard to have a car payment. I didn't like it, I didn't want it, but it was what I was willing to settle for. I had a car payment probably for 18 years. Why not? Didn't everyone have one? Well, actually, no. Not everyone had one. Some people, I realized, saved up and paid in full when they bought a car. That way they didn't have to pay all that interest. They owned it outright. Or some people paid most of it up front and then paid it off in a year or so. You see, I was willing to settle for a monthly payment even though I didn't like it. I didn't like writing a monthly check, but I hadn't made it a standard to have a savings account into which I would put money every month toward a new car. My standard was to leverage credit when it came to large purchases. Again, nothing good, bad, right, or wrong about it, but it had an impact and it had a certain result. Some people's standard is to lease a car. They don't mind the monthly payment because they like having a new car every year. That's their standard. Some people never buy a new car. They only purchase used cars, and we haven't even gotten to the brand of cars that standards play into that as well. At some point, I realized that not everyone had a car payment. I learned that some families save each month towards a new car, and then when they get a certain amount in the account, they buy the car outright or finance a small portion of it. I decided I wanted to do that. I decided I was no longer willing to settle for having a monthly car payment and intentionally put money aside for a new car. I changed my standard and I got a different result. Did you know that the majority of families in the United States do not even have $400 in their savings account? It's hard to believe. Why is this? Is it because they're not able to save $400? No, it's because having a savings account is not a standard for them. Most families in our country have tremendous credit card debt, car debt, mortgage debt, and on and on and on and on. Carrying debt is what most of us are willing to settle for. Now, does it have to be this way? No. You can change your standard. Will it take effort? Absolutely. You're going to have to change your habits. You'll have to change your beliefs, your self-talk, what you focus on, all of the things we discuss on this show. And let's talk about a big one. Let's talk about standards when it comes to money. The amount of money you make right now is the amount of money that you're willing to make. Now, you may be willing to make a little more, and you may be willing to make a little less. But if you are making $45,000 annually, that is your standard. You may be willing to make $50,000, and you may be willing to make as little as $40,000. But that is likely your range. That is your standard for your income. If a person is making $100,000 or $200K, then it's because that is their compensation standard. They may have a range of plus or minus $20,000 or $30,000, but that's their standard, and they look for work or opportunities that will create that. Now, there are always exceptions. Some of you may just be hitting your money-making years and on the track to growing your income, or maybe some of you are in the midst of a career change or going back to school. But if you have been in the same income bracket for the last 3, 4, 5 years, then this is your standard. This is what you are okay with. It is what is acceptable to you. And a little more or a little less would be acceptable too. There's always a range of plus or minus. Now, if you have always been overweight, 10 or 20 pounds, or for the last 2 years or more, then this is your standard. You may let yourself get 25 pounds overweight before you decide you've had enough and you get to work on getting fit. And I want to be crystal clear about something. I am not saying, like I just said, this is not what you want. You may want to be making $500,000 a year, but are actually making $60,000. Or you may want to be working from home, but at a job where that's not a possibility. You may want to have a savings account, but find yourself in huge debt. Or you may want to learn an instrument or a new language or go get fit, but instead you wind up on the couch in your spare time. Again, standards are not about what you want. They're about what you're willing to settle for. Not good or bad. It just is. So what are your standards? What are your standards for your life? For your family? For your finances, your marriage, your friends? Friends is a huge one to look at. Your financial health is usually directly related to the types of friends you have. Think about it. If you don't have a lot in savings, most likely the people you hang out with don't either. If you're out of shape, most likely the people you hang out with are as well. If you are in shape, you most likely are hanging out with other fit people who have a high standard when it comes to health and fitness. If you spend a lot of time at the bars on the weekends, your friends probably do too. If you spend a lot of time at church on Saturday or Sunday, your friends probably do too. Now, here's what's cool. If you want to raise your standards in an area of life, start associating with people who have those higher standards or who have those different standards. And I'm not saying you have to ditch your current friends, and I'm not saying that you don't either. What I'm saying is your life is the way it is right now because of your standards, because of what you're willing to settle for. And if you love your life and standards, then excellent. But if you don't have the life you want, take a look at those standards and consider raising them and find people who have those standards so you can learn from them and be inspired by them and encouraged by them. You see, professional athletes and actors, People at the top of their game and in their careers are where they are because they've set standards which demand excellence. They expect more from themselves than anyone else. They create a vision of their life which inspires them into action so they can reach those standards. So, what do you demand from yourself? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. You don't have to make the big bucks or drive the new car or have the PhD. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is be aware of your standards. They indicate what you really are committed to in your life, what you will settle for. Let me give you one more example. Some people are late making payments. They pay their rent or mortgage late. They're late paying their utility bills. They get overdraft charges at the bank, etc. In my life, being on time for any type of payment is really important to me. And in fact, I like to be ahead on certain payments. You see, I never want to receive a notice of late payment or have a late fee. So I make it a point to always be paid ahead at least 1 or 2 months on my bills, like water, garbage, sewer, electric. Now some people say, what's the point? Well, the point is I have a standard, and that standard says be on time. Never have to worry about paying something late or incurring late fees. We purchase more and more organic food products in our house as we've raised our standard for healthy food choices too. Now, do you think this is due to the friends we associate with? Yes, absolutely. And what we read and what we watch or listen to. We're a family who frequently raises or changes our standards as we learn new things and take on new experiences. And we get around the people who have those standards. Now, I want you to understand there's nothing wrong with where you are in life. Nothing needs to be fixed. However, if you are discontent, then it's because of your standards. And let that discontentment or disappointment fuel you. Let it motivate you to create an inspiring vision of how you want your life to be. Get around people who have the standards you want, and you'll find yourself rising to those new standards. It really is possible. And it's really a beautiful principle to see in action. So people who get coaching in life, gosh, they see this play out hugely as they are frequently raising their standards from what they will settle for to what they want. Then they figure out how to get it. And you can do this too, if you want to. In fact, it's opportunity right now. Here's an action I invite you to take on for your life. Number 1, identify key standards in your life around finances, family, maybe family time, maybe how family speaks to each other, maybe about family vacations. Identify the standards around health and fitness. Remember, no good, bad, right or wrong answers here. Only ways of being that work for your life or don't work for your life. Ways of being that move you toward your goal or away from your goal. Number 2, share these insights with someone in your life and ask what their standards are as well. And then decide if you want to change any of the standards you identified, and then write down what the new standard is. What does it look like? And finally, look for people who have that standard and get around them. Yeah, you might have to join a club, right? You might have to go hang out with some new people. So if you're ready to really take things to that next level, then contact me and let's work together. We can expeditiously get you to those new standards so you begin experiencing new results that feel good. All right? It's important to have a high level of accountability as you take on your life. So contact me at Fletcher@FletcherEllingson.com. We can set up a free consultation so you can get an idea of what is possible for your life through coaching. It's an incredible experience. Okay, it's time to wrap this up. But please hit the like button if this makes sense to you and if you like this video, and subscribe to this channel. You can also share this video by clicking the share icon. Share it, and together, again, you and I, we can make a difference. And speaking of making a difference, it's time to get out there and be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You have worth, you matter, you have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.